Let's talk about England and their game against Malta on Friday night and what's going to happen this Monday night when they're live on talkSPORT against North Macedonia. Adrian Durham, talkSPORT's England presenter, is here. Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you both?
All right. Very good, thank you. You're on your way to North Macedonia, aren't you? Via Gatwick. Do you have to? Can you fly direct to Skopje? Is that something you can do easily?
Could when you booked it months ago. Since then, it's changed about 4 times. So I think some of us are going by Frankfurt, some by Budapest, others by various other places. Tricky one to get to, but actually, despite Friday night, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, a lot of criticism and disappointment after Friday night, but they've qualified. They will be in pot 1. Only 3 teams in Europe have scored more in qualifying than England. Is winning not enough anymore? Do they have to win and put on a show?
Well, Gareth set some high standards, hasn't he? Since 2016, I think people talk about the culture that he's brought in. I just go back to shortly before then, the Iceland game in Nice. That's my yardstick. As long as we're not that bad, I don't mind. Already qualified, already won the group, sealed the top seeding with Friday night. But the reality is, Sam, it really wasn't good at all. It wasn't fun to watch. It wasn't as good as England can play. But then some of the better players weren't playing. They've either been left out, Saka was on the bench, or somewhere out injured. So it wasn't England's best 11. Of course, we expect better. Gareth Southgate said that after the game. But I think some of the overreaction, bordering on hysteria, I heard on talkSPORT yesterday, is way, way over the top. And not really. It doesn't really chime with what genuine travelling England fans feel about Gareth Southgate and this England team.
I agree, because obviously I watched it and I was looking at it thinking, oh, it's a bit clunky, they're not flowing. Gallagher was giving the ball away too much, wasn't he?
But that was a bad selection because he's a pressing machine.
Yes, I know.
And you're taking on a team
bit deeper
that don't have the ball.
But also, you can still be better in possession, because he looked like he was a bit nervous to me. And I was looking at Aiden, I've said before, it wasn't a very good performance. It's a bunch of trialists really at the elite level that have been thrown together. You know, you ain't going to get that fluidity and the understanding, you know, in your different partnerships. You want individuals to make a claim. But if England would have won 10-0, that wouldn't still told you anything anyway. So that game, I don't think is a barometer, anything to do with Gareth Southgate's tenure, because you said there, the culture that he's created, these England players now actually want to play for England. That wasn't the case before. Before he took over. Now it's a different level, where because of his success in creating that culture, he's been a victim of his own success, because he's going to be judged now on this group of players that he has to get the best out of them, especially in the forward areas, and he's got to be a bit more positive in his selection.
Yeah, and I think people need to be a bit more constructive in their criticism. There's nothing wrong with criticising Friday night. It was a poor performance. People have paid money to see it. They expect better than that, and I'm fully behind that. However, you know, if you just simply say, well, this is the best group of players we've ever had, and he should be winning this, that, and the other with this squad of players, I don't think that fully analyses the situation. There are some brilliant players in the squad, and brilliant players we'll have at the Euros, no doubt about that. Bellingham, Saka, Kane, these are brilliant players, but are we complete? Do we know that we've got a really good centre-half partnership? Bearing in mind, John Stones has played 90 minutes once for City this season. That, for me, is a major concern. Midfield, we've got 2 brilliant midfielders in Rice and Bellingham. Do we know who the third one's going to be? What do you do with it? Do you go defensive with it? Do you put Trent in there? What are you going to do with it? So do our wide attacking players defend enough? So, yes, there's some brilliant players, but are they all brilliant? Is it really genuinely the best set of players you've ever seen for England? Is it better than 04, for example? I don't personally think so. They're good, and I'd really like them to win something. Gareth's giving them a great chance of winning something with the culture that he's instilled. Yeah,
and it's interesting you've mentioned that, because Marcus Rashford's selected on the left-hand side, and he hasn't had a great season, especially doing the bits that you need him to do when you get to a European Championship in second, third round, whatever, when you're going through to the knockout stages. He's going to have to track back better than he does when he's with Manchester United. The partnership at the back is right, and he was hampered actually in being able to develop that partnership in midfield between Rice and Bellingham and the one other, whoever it is that he chooses, because Bellingham wasn't available this time because of a shoulder injury. What are we expecting tomorrow night? Because North Macedonia gave Italy a bit of a scare on Friday. What dangers do they possess?
Well, they've got a goalkeeper who I thought was really good. He's one of the few that shut out Jude Bellingham in La Liga this season. However, on Friday night, he was truly appalling. But that tells me the flip side is he'll want to show how good he is tomorrow against England. So slightly concerned there. It did feel like Italy shoot on sight and they will score Friday night when I was watching the game back. They've also got Atanasov, who came on, scored the 2 goals. One was a lucky deflection. The other was a terrific run that was hard to defend against. So They've got some threatening players. They've qualified for a recent tournament. Listen, we beat them 7-0 at Wembley. You know, they're not going to qualify. So we should be going there. And I say should, with these players that we've got, player for player, you should be getting a result out there. Either way, it's been a brilliant qualifying campaign. If it's a poor performance, they'll get criticised, but I can't read anything too long-term into it.
Do you know what, Eddie? It's going to be a case, they'll play like the 3 centre-halves and end up in a 5-4-1, and it'll be whether we can break them down or not, you know, that creativity. And you bet your life, as near as the strength, full strength team he can play, he will play with the players that he's got available. And you'll see, I think you'll see a different intensity, both passing and in the closing down. Because Sam mentioned there, Marcus Rashford, if you go back to the Italy game, it was his fault that Italy scored because Marcus Rashford didn't track back. And you've got to have players when you're getting into the quarterfinals, semi-finals and hopefully final, that every player will do their job off the ball. You cannot have any passengers at that level.
Well, the one good thing about England now, Adrian, is that you do have competition behind Marcus Rashford to push him in that left wing position, don't you? Which you don't necessarily have at Manchester United. So he will feel the heat.
Well, listen, I don't think there should be competition behind Marcus Rashford. I think it should be Rashford pushing for a starting berth. Phil Foden, for me, criminally underused by England. I think he started, 7 in 20? I think he should be starting on the left. Look at the talent Phil Foden has got. How is he not a regular starter for England? I look at Marcus Rashford, and I was listening to Henry Winter on the Sunday edition this morning, and he was defending Rashford, saying he's scored something like 9 in his last 10 starts or something like that. But that stretches back 4 years. And a lot of those goals are against Montenegro and Kosovo. And yes, there was one against Italy. There were a couple in the World Cup as well. But I look at it defensively. I'm not convinced by Marcus Rashford. If we are going to win the Euros, I'm not necessarily sure he's in the starting 11, but I would love him to prove me wrong. He also looks like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. But how can we not have Phil Foden in a starting 11? If you've got Phil Foden in, you've got to have the Bukayo Saka in as well. He's on the right. There's your front three sorted with Kane in the middle. So, yes, there's competition, and rightly so. There's some good players, but those are the front three for me.
See, I'd change the formation because I think our strength, everybody
knows.
At
this late stage?
4-2-3-1, I would go instead of 4-3-3. Just a little tweak on it, right? Because we need to get as many attacking players in our starting 11 as we possibly can, because that is our strength. We're not strong, as you said there, particularly defensively at centre-half. So I would actually play Declan Rice as the holding midfield player, and I'd have Jude Bellingham next to him, and Jude Bellingham can play in that 8. He can get forward, he can get back, he can take players on from a deeper role. Then you can have Bukayo Saka on the right, Phil Foden as your 10, Jack Grealish maybe on the left, or you said you've got Jarrod Bowen in good form now, haven't you? Anthony Gordon's coming to the party, and Harry Kane up front. Because if you get as many attacking players on the pitch as you can, and Jude Bellingham will do your defensive stuff, so will Bukayo Saka because he does it for Arsenal. Jack Grealish will do it on the left-hand side because he does it for Man City. So you're still going to be strong defensively.
Do you want to do that against France in the later stages of the tournament?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to do that against Portugal?
Yep, because in every tournament we've played, when you listen to the other managers, the other players, they are frightened of not only the starting forwards, but the forwards that you can bring off the bench. And they would give their right arm to have as many attacking options as what we have. So that's why I think we should go there. I'm not sure if Gareth Southgate will, because he's more considered in his approach anyway. But I just want us to go all in, no matter who we play.
If the midfield three, say it's 4-3-3, and you've got Foden, Kane, Saka as the front three. If the midfield three is, say, Trent, Bellingham and Rice, that's half your outfield players that are attacking players.
It's a bit dangerous, a bit Roberto Martinez.
I didn't put Trent in there. I didn't put Trent in.
You don't want Trent in?
No, because I'm having Declan Rice as the main holder, right? And I'm having Jude Bellingham just playing a bit in front of him, and then we lose possession. He'll get back. He's got the athleticism to do it, and he's got the athleticism to get forward and create an overload in the forward areas. So I'm going proper all in.
I want him to play further up the field, Jude Bellingham, and I'd rather play two conservative holders, and allow him to go and do his work at the other end. But he'd do it anyway from that. He's so good. He's been so good for Real Madrid.
But he would do it anyway from that deep position. He'd do it anyway.
Now look at his numbers for Real Madrid, and here you are saying playing in a different position, Perry. Come on, man.
No, because you've got to be able to adapt. You've got to be able to get as many attacking players on the pitch as possible.
Yeah, but that's like gung ho. I mean, it's like that's not a team, is it? It's
It
just
is,
like
because I've just said,
it's like Barry Fry. Is Barry Fry a job?
Because Bukayo Saka will do his defensive duties.
The scouting would be good.
The three that I'm saying, Saka, Foden and Grealish, they will all do their defensive duties off the ball because they're not allowed to be lazy for their club. So it's not as if you're going to have someone like Marcus Rashford who's on the left wing going, right, I'll be all right when I've got the ball and we're going forward, but I'm not going to get myself back into team shape. So you're not going to have lazy players.
I would say that Gareth's position in terms of starting positions and how he approaches games, that's not been a problem. His problem in tournaments has been in-game, changing things in-game.
Changing it positively.
Hasn't it? I think that's what he has to address, and he's got one more tournament to do it by all accounts. So let's see if he can do that. So he's earned the right, basically, for this one more tournament. When I hear people like Gabby Agbonlahor, who I had on toast for breakfast the other day, by the way, when I hear him saying, let's bring in Mourinho, let's bring in Pep, I mean, it defies belief, really. People just need to step right back, have a look what happened in Nice in 2016 against Iceland and realise how far we've come.
They all had nervous breakdowns in that game. The coaching staff and the players all had nervous breakdowns. They didn't know what to do.
Well, that was a long time ago now. I wonder if I just asked you before you go, you're breaking up a little bit, Adrian. You mentioned there, almost sort of casually throwing it away, that this one last chance to do it for Gareth Southgate. This is not the first time we've had sort of almost conventional wisdom that this will be his last tournament. I think even in Qatar, many people thought that was going to be the case. Are you absolutely certain that this will be his last hurrah with England, or do you think there's a possibility that he can continue? Because David Dean was on the programme this morning, the Sunday edition, suggesting that he should go on.
I haven't got a problem with him going on at all. I think if we win the Euros, I think he will want another crack at a World Cup. But I do think he was close to finishing at the end of the World Cup. I think his players basically persuaded him not to, or how they felt about it was enough for him to say, let's give it one more go. So he was pretty convinced then. So I actually do see this being his last tournament. The only little caveat is if we win it, will he want to go at the World Cup that he thought they should have won in Qatar last year?
Okay, thank you very much, Adrian. Darren is off to Macedonia. What is the national dish of Macedonia? I'd like to know. Find out. I'll have to ask him. I've never been to Macedonia. Wharton Hall Park is where Mark Wilson is today. He's watching the WSL game between Everton and Bristol City. And has there been a response to that early goal, Mark?
No, not from the visitors. Still Everton 1, Bristol City 0, approaching half an hour played here. Martina Piemonte's first WSL goal put Everton in front inside 4 minutes. She had a great chance as well on 13. She pounced on a loose back pass, got to it, but Olivia Clark, the goalkeeper, did really well. Came out, blocked the ball. It went over the keeper's head, but defenders got back and Aspin eventually cleared it. Clark's been in the war. She needed treatment after that clash with Piemonte. And then shortly after that, she spilled a cross coming into the area. The ball was there to be tucked in, but there was no one in a blue shirt to tuck it in. Again, Aspin cleared it off the line. At the other end, nothing really. Bristol City not had a kick inside the Everton half. Everton dominating here. They look a cut above Bristol City at the moment. They just need that comfort blanket of a second goal. It's Everton 1, Bristol City 0.
And some key wickets have been taken in the biggest cricket stadium in the world. John Norman.
In the biggest cricket match in the world as well. 3 of them down now for Australia. The target 2-4-1 after on a really sticky pitch. India were actually bowled out in the end. Final ball of the 50. Australia got off to a quick start, as did India. They knew, though, it was vitally important to do so because the ball has dominated the bat. And so it's proved. Steve Smith's just been given that leg before wicket, by the way. He should have reviewed. They have 2 reviews that they can question, and if he had done, he would have overturned that on-field call. He's gone for 4. Travis Head's still there. He's 10 not out, but he's hopping around. Mitchell Marsh and David Warner, the other 2 batters. So lots of excitement. The crowd finally alive. Australia 47 for 3 in the 8th over, chasing 2-4-1.
That was John Norman watching the World Cup final, and it looks as if it's going to go in India's way, but there's still a long way to go in that particular encounter. It's a fascinating match. India started it brilliantly this morning, and they've continued in that vein. 47-3, the target to 241 for Australia to chase down. Just in case you were wondering, Tabche Grabche is the national dish of North Macedonia. And it's basically beans. Beans with onions, oil, dry red pepper, red and black pepper, salt and parsley.
What sort of beans?
butter beans.
All right, I was going to say kidney beans, runner beans,
No,
butter beans.
There you
like
go.
it.
Yeah,
That's right for me. Veggie.
Yeah,
Superb.
great for you. England may have limped to a 2-0 victory on Friday night, but France absolutely smashed Gibraltar last night. But is that right? We'll discuss it next.